Hi everyone, it's Achusi Kanku from Esports Africa News, and I'm here today with I don't want to. If I say older, elderly, or matured, I don't know which word to use, but he's what do you say? An experienced gamer, if you put it that way. Very experienced gamer, esports athlete, and he's going to tell us a bit more about himself and where he is now in the spectrum of gaming and esports. Before we continue, I just want to spotlight that this particular edition is sponsored by Tema Esports Club. It's supported by them because they've given me their jersey to wear, and I think we're somewhere. We're featured here actually. Esports Africa News is featured right across, if you can see. So, Tema Esports Club is an esports team in Ghana, and it features in a lot of the esports tournaments across Ghana and some international events. So, back to today's events then. I'll give Ryan the chance to tell us more about himself and where he is now. So first introduction, and then I'll come to you with the questions.
So, well, I fully embrace the call it older, call it matured. I'm not sensitive about it. I acknowledge that I am an older person, and I played games recreationally back in the 80s when, it was all very pixeled, some text-based games. And then there was pressure to become a proper citizen. You grow up and you're under pressure to leave these childish things behind. So I didn't get back into gaming until I was 43. And one day I went, why? I really enjoyed playing games. And I'm bored in my personal entertainment time. I'm bored with watching TV and series, and I need to find something else. So I got back into gaming. I discovered the game of Rocket League, and I've been very active playing the game, but also in the esport community and broadly in promoting the game, encouraging people to play for the last 11 years. So that's the quick summary of me.
Thank you so much. So how many more of you are about?
Not enough. It's and part of so where I find myself doing a lot of work is I find myself talking to parents because they have kids who are getting into a game like Rocket League, and they want to take it seriously. Maybe they're thinking about going pro, but they've got parents who are going, I don't want my kid playing so much, spending so much time in their room on a video game. So I talk to them and encourage them, and then through community leagues, we want to encourage more older people to get back into gaming because there's a few of us, but not enough.
Yeah, I think I've seen is it Gang of 4, Gang of 6? I've seen your profile, and I like the animated version. It looks cool. It makes you look really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in a very interesting time because if we think about competitive gaming is still quite young. I mean, going on around 20 years in like proper, serious, structured ways and so on. But a lot of people who were gaming when they were young, like me, who then went and got real jobs, they got married, they had kids, and fell away from gaming. And I think that part of what we should be doing is, because competitive gaming is generally a young person's activity, we need the older people, the people who were competitive in their young years, to stay in gaming and help to foster it, to nurture it, to grow it, to bring an adult perspective, because we often lose sight, someone who's 13, 14, 16, 18, these are young people. And while they're getting a lot of help with the game, they need proper guidance and structure, and that's what people like you and me bring to the party. Whether it's simple things like media training. These guys, they're socially awkward. They don't know how to interact with with other people. They need help and guidance, and then also with things like exercise and education, and people who've been through it, I think, would be best placed to
absolutely
help bring that. Yeah,
I agree with you 100%, and that's why I'm happy to be talking to you about matured gamers. And the truth is, we don't have enough. We don't have enough because of they've not been discovered. We don't have enough because there's no avenue for them to be discovered or engaged, or we don't have enough because it's just they've not actually maybe thought about it. Because I mean, if we say the last 20 years, there are people around our circles who have been playing games. They've been playing the Sega Mega Drive, the Game Boys. Yes, we can have that still, and then, is it the channels are not there. The channels might be because currently all the competitions are more directed towards the youth, younger people, 15, 16, or they've not thought about it because they're still doing life, which often happens to all of us. How you find it in your circle of friends or colleagues? You're based in South Africa and you've traveled around a bit. How do you find it around your circles and your colleagues?
I think there is. I mean, there's a weird stigma attached to it that if you're a grown-up and a responsible adult, you shouldn't be playing games, and so they kind of feel weird about it. And part of what I hope to do by being, I'm quite public with what I do in terms of social media and podcast, and is I want to. It is a fully legitimate activity to be involved in, and we need the experience that older people can bring to the competitive scene. There's so much value there. So what I'm discovering is, I will find people who play a game. Well, Rocket League is the game I play, so I will find, people in their 30s, 40s, and sometimes even 50s who are playing the game. But they're kind of doing it quietly, they're sort of like, it's almost like this little secret activity. It's like, no, we need to, you need to come out of the shadows and let's wear it proudly. And I guess long term, what I'd love to see is like any professional sport, take football. Once you're 26, you're getting old. Once you hit 30, it's like, how come you haven't retired yet? If you're still playing professional football at 37, 38 years old, you're a miracle.
Yeah.
And it's very similar with esport. It is, reaction time, the instinct on controllers and all of that. The young people are better at it. But again, like all professional sports, I think there should be a senior league. So for people who are over 30 who play Rocket League or Call of Duty or CSGO or PUBG, whatever the game is, who've got that experience, there should be tours for that, like where adults, people who've had that long experience can go and compete with people who are kind of at a similar level as to where they are. But there's a long way to go. There is so much to do, and you're in gaming, so I'm in gaming. We were talking a little bit before we went live with this conversation, and there's always the grand vision or the fantasy of where we would like to be or what we would like to see. There is a lot to do, and honestly, when it comes to matured gamers, I think there needs to be more professionalization of the mainline esport, with the youngsters that are playing, whether it's Rocket League or EAFC or whatever it is. So as that becomes more formalized, more recognized, and bigger, and in a moment I'm sure we'll talk about the Esport Nations Cup and FIFA. I love what they are doing to legitimize esport, and as it becomes more legitimized and recognized, then there will be more and more room for people like me to be involved. But in the meantime, we need people with experience to bring their expertise to the structures, to running it, to guiding, because the kids aren't going to do it. We got to do that.
You're absolutely right there, because I was doing, as part of the research we do here, I was reading around, matured gamers and all that kind of stuff. And I realized in Asia that they are more organized in Asia, the matured gamers, and they play more publicly in sort of leagues about. also,
that. That's great.
I noticed, yeah, I mean, they had this league of Silver Line. I was going to say we would do ours a Silver Line kind of league, but this matured league where they play Call of Duty Mobile, Apex Legends, they've got leagues around for that. The other one I was thinking about is the research also pointed to the fact that when people in their older age play some of these games, it helps them with their mental health development, managing their stress, and also getting about. It's a social connection, and also between the youngsters, grandpas and kids, and that kind of thing. Have you experienced that? I mean, I don't know about your background, but have you come across it?
100%. Well, let's talk, all the benefits for all the benefits of gaming that help youngsters in terms of their social interaction. And so many people think of gaming as being an antisocial activity, yet kids are meeting people all over the world. They're building networks that could potentially be with them for life. It is stimulating. Sitting watching TV is not stimulating at all. I mean, I think the research there is it's almost like your brain waves are like being in a coma when you watch TV. But when you're gaming, you're actively engaged. There's huge benefits there. Similarly, at the other end of the age spectrum, when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, absolutely keeping yourself engaged, social, all of that, there is huge benefits. If I think of myself personally, probably my favorite story is I met a guy in game who was based in Scotland, and he was a couple of years older than me. And we connected through Rocket League, and we became quite close. And then I went to a Rocket League event in Germany 3 years ago, and he drove with his wife from Scotland all the way to Düsseldorf so that we could have dinner together. It was so amazing,
That's like a young person's fairy tale.
Yeah. And there we were, these two old gamers, having a great time. So one of the biggest complaints, well, we hear this all the time when you reach retirement age, is where's your sense of self, your sense of engagement or drive, purpose, and this is a great way to do it. The oldest person I know who plays Rocket League, and he streams, he's in his 70s, I think he's 73, 74 now, and he streams, plays Rocket League, and it's incredible. So there are. Yeah, there's huge benefits to it. So I'm all for it. I think there is, without a doubt, a great place for this, socially, competitively, and all of that.
No, absolutely. And I think, unfortunately, or should we say more fortunately, it's not well developed in Africa, and these are the opportunities that people need to be picking between the lines in some of these conversations and that we're having right now. That look, for people to be socially engaged, it doesn't have to be your very technical EAFC or all these ones. Just Dance, I keep using Just Dance in my analogy for other people, that you don't need to have special techniques to do Just Dance. You need to move your body. It could be a father-daughter dance, it could be a mother-son dance, it could be a couple's dance, it could be brothers' dance. All that challenge is stimulating, getting the people going, and it's something that we need to, as Africans, need to try and engage more with, and not stigmatize gaming as a negative thing. It's here to stay. We are always the last to get to the table. We're always last to be at the ball, whilst everyone is milked it all, and we're last to be there. So maybe from this conversation, someone will spark an idea, or spark something with someone, and they'll come up with an idea.
I think it's never just one great idea or one investment or one thing that changes culture. Things happen in small stages, and if we come back to what I mentioned about the Esports Nations Cup and FIFA E, which this year will be the first year that there's an Esports Nations Cup, and there's going to be 48, I think it's 48 countries, or there's a lot of countries,
quite a number, yeah.
through a number of titles that so there are opportunities for African countries to be involved. There's spots for Africa at the Esports Nations Cup, and that starts to legitimize it. FIFA E, I think it was 3 years ago they started with Rocket League, and I think also with EAFC, and they held like a FIFA World Cup. And it was very successful. And then the next year in 2025, it grew. And then this year, it is 48 teams. And in fact, tonight, as we're speaking, the African qualifiers are happening in Rocket League. I think there's two or three spots available for Africa, and that's going to be in November, I think. And that's FIFA. I mean, there isn't a bigger name than FIFA. We got the World Cup football about to happen, and they are putting a lot of effort, a lot of resource into esport. And the titles they've chosen to support are Rocket League and EAFC. So those are eFootball. And So that starts to legitimize it. The Esports Nations Cup even more so, because I think it's 16 different titles, so it's quite a range of titles, and it just so those are two very important things. And every step we take moves towards legitimizing it. And the youngsters who are playing now, whether it's PUBG, FIFA, whatever they're playing, as they get older. And become responsible adults, the hope is that a good number of them will stay in the ecosystem to help guide it and use their experience to help grow it. And you're right, in many, Africa often lags in it, and that's mostly due to our, we tend to have not enough access to the resources that you would have in America, Europe, and so on. But I think that will grow, particularly in mobile. So we are probably lagging a little bit. But I do think with all these little things that happen, that it will A, legitimize it, B, as you say, whether someone sees this conversation or another similar conversation, there are people and organizations who have money, who have passion, who will go. They will suddenly realize that there are a lot of Africans, and particularly young Africans, and suddenly there's a market, there's a resource, we should be tapping into that. So hopefully that grows, and then one day the dam breaks, and then there's opportunities all over.
That's the watershed moment.
Yes.
Talk about the FIFA E events, right? I did my first international assignment was in Copenhagen covering FIFA E, and the only African country present was Morocco. It was quite an experience. Yeah, quite an experience. It was out of this world. And since then, I've been following and covering these events regularly, and that's why my role and the team, we try to visit these international events. Going to Evo last year to cover the fighting game scene was incredible. I mean, loads of Ivorians were there, loads of other Kenyans and Cameroon, was there to cover that. I've been to E-League One tournaments. We try to spotlight these events so people can pick up and identify opportunities and spread the news about routes through which they can legally and legitimately get access to these events. But once you talk about, I was trying to avoid the bigger picture, because I want to focus on the matured gamers, because I want to talk about the spectrum or the period between let's say 40 to 60, 70. Apart from physically gaming, are there ways we can engage matured people in the circles of gaming? Because for Africa, and from my research and many conversations, things like advocacy, things like legals, things like content, things like there's lots of things that the youngsters take for granted, but life gives you experience, so you would have seen a lot of things that many of them would not have seen. So where or how do we create this network of pool that we can attract persons like you to be part of the ecosystem rather than looking outward and being the what do we say? Just looking in without actually stepping into the water,
So there's, if I look at what, I got into this almost by accident because it was 7 years ago. In fact, this month it was 7 years ago that
Right.
I thought, okay, I'll get into content. I started a YouTube channel around Rocket League and I've been involved ever since. I love it. I do a lot of stuff. But where I think I have struggled and where my failings have been with two things. One, getting more people around my age involved, and two, finding the necessary money and resources to do the things that I think would be very helpful. But you are 100% correct, because there are people who were gamers, who love gaming, who've kind of been involved, and they are marketing people, they're legal people, they're money people, I'm kind of echoing what you're saying and not answering your question, because I'm not sure how to find and connect those people, because I absolutely want to find them and say, your marketing experience, come and bring that to this gaming community or to this organization or this tournament or this community thing, and help us get the sponsorships, the money, or a legal person, to help with contracts. Psychologists, oh my word, the mental side. I mean, that's its own thing, which is becoming more of a thing, but needs a lot of work. So I'm echoing what you're saying rather than answering your question, because I don't know. And maybe these sorts of conversations help and say, we need you out there, all you life experienced people. We got to have you involved. So, and hopefully through the work you're doing, you make those connections. Hopefully through the work I'm doing, I reach a few people, and I've had some minor successes along the way, but man, oh man, that needs a lot more.
Right. So you talk about the silver surface. Am I all right to call you silver surface?
Sure.
So talk about the silver surface. I mean, can we have a little charity thing to say, hey, Silver Surface, we're going to support a good cause in South Africa this December, so we're looking for as many Silver Surface. I mean, you've got quite a good network. We are happy to support a campaign like that, to say, hey, we'll attract especially diaspora and Africans, especially to contribute, time, resource, not always money, but sometimes it's just time and a little connection here, a little pool here, to have a Silver Surface thing to, Alzheimer's. I don't know about a South African charity that deals with Alzheimer's, South African charity that deals with heart attacks, Heart Foundation. We could pick one or two and have a charity cause for them. And all we're saying is that we want you all to come out and game with us. It could be Just Dance, it could be Rocket League, it could be chess, it could be something. But I think it's something that we can start with, between us, and say, we'll pick a charity and say a particular day, 5 hours, how many hours, we're just going to stream a charity stream. And if you've got a hall that other people can be present, fair enough. But, we can do that and maybe see how many people we can attract to be part of it. And then have the conversation to say, hey, the industries you are currently earning from, you, with your knowledge and skill, you can contribute to this industry, because it is essentially the same vehicle but just painted different. It's called esports.
It's not something I've ever thought of before as a possibility, as an opportunity, and I'm trying to sort of on the fly live here kind of process. But absolutely, I think there is most certainly some kind of opportunity there, and as I sit here, I'm not sure exactly how it would work it would certainly be a new avenue to pursue for some awareness around this.
Yeah, No, it's great. So,
And you know what? I've just had this thought. If I think about, because there's always, if you think about, I don't want to call it retirement village. What's another word? Mature living estate.
yeah.
They're always looking for ways to engage people who live there. Because it is a weird time of life, because you stopped working and perhaps you've lost a long-term partner, and gaming might be a really cool way an activity to engage. I'm just kind of saying that would be quite something to do. Yeah,
I do know a few charities in the UK. However, I will struggle with naming any in Africa. Hence, I'll probably need to do some research in that circle. So I'll probably do that, and then we've still got time. We'll think about it, and we'll see how it goes.
And it's all great things are built over time and slowly, and very often you have a grand vision, and halfway there's a better idea, or it reshapes, or there's new opportunities. But if we just keep going, it builds. It builds over time, and I think I see you guys are being the Esports Africa news is really important, and that activity, the more it goes on, the more it engages, the more it kind of gets it out there. And I think what I'm trying to say is the persistence over time is more important than one great idea right now. You keep grinding at it, and you will know this. I'm trying to think when you and I first connected up. I feel like it was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Something like that.
It was on X. It was on X, then it went to emails, then it went to LinkedIn, and we spoke a few times about Rocket League. Yeah, and then.
But what's important to me is that you're still there. I have a lot of people who will reach out to me with an idea, or they, why don't we do this? And I say that's great, and then a week or two later, a month or two, 6 months later, they're gone. They're off doing something else, and you can't build anything that way. So it's those who stick around and keep grinding, and it is hard, because I don't know what your experience has been, but there are times where I have great ideas and I start engaging people, and we get sort of halfway there, then it all falls apart and it doesn't happen, and it's easy to become disillusioned, but you keep going, and that's how it builds. It's never with one grand gesture. It's work. It's work. You have to get up every day and grind the damn thing,
Like that's what you get experience and the knowledge, and it all comes together finally. One thing that I'm quite curious about is your involvement. It won't be long. We'll be spending quite a few more minutes, but your involvement in Rocket League, one of the areas that's in Africa we haven't taken very serious is coaching, mentoring in that regard. I mean, with your experience in Rocket League, what have you in your network been doing, and how do people recruit you or access you for coaching roles?
So that's probably one area where we have seen some successes, and people who compete at a high level, when they retire, a very obvious thing for them to do is to get into coaching. And with a game, Rocket League is 11 years old as a game. As an esport, it's now 10 years old. So there are a number of people who aren't now competing but have gone into coaching roles. So there is availability of assistance and coaching in that regard. There is also for Sub-Saharan Africa, specifically for Discord, for Rocket League, there is a Discord server which is catering. There's a lot of free coaching, advice, there's workshops, and if you want to get serious about it, there are coaches you can pay to help you with the game. So that ecosystem we're seeing a bit of success with in terms of resources and availability to help players who want to take the game seriously. So that I'm probably I'm quite optimistic about that, and pleased to see the opportunities there.
Well, I'm going to take you on this particular one because I didn't know that. And one of the areas that I noted regarding the ENC, EWC, Esports World Cup, Esports Nations Cup, and these international events coming on is the role of coaches. At Evo, all the African athletes who turned up didn't have coaches. Player coaches were supporting them. And I could see how important those people played in the role they played, helping these guys. And that's one thing I would desperately need to develop. And since you said there is a Rocket League Discord channel with loads of coaches, I'm going to tap on that and try and promote that particular channel, because I do believe in that.
Excellent.
And
it's fabulous to see. I mean, because that is an entirely community produced thing and set up and community run, and they do a great job. And so there's people who will help with coaching at a very low level, people who are new to the game and are a million miles from approaching pro, but it gets them to the next level, and so on. So yeah, absolutely, I'll be more than happy to share all the details.
No. Appreciate that, Ryan. Thanks for your time. I really love this. I'm sure I'll be speaking to you again, because this energy is the one I need every time. But I do speak to quite a lot of people. So if you have other people in your network, psychologists, medical practitioners, anyone who wants to talk about anything involved in esports, I'm happy to host them. So please do let us know. And we want to help Africans, whether on the continent or in the diaspora, to showcase themselves and also to help other Africans on the continent. 2026, 2027, want to see more Africans in top events. That's why we're doing this. Absolutely. And
with everything in this world, Africa should be, we should be at the forefront a lot more than we are, and hopefully we can push ourselves forward.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.